Hi everyone, I'm Joe, I wear a magic hat, and I'm here to provide an early Lucilius walkthrough for both solo and party play. I'm going to cover all the mechanics encountered in the fight and how to deal with them. As a disclaimer, I do have 2 Gamma Sigils equipped onto my Zeta AI, but these clears are definitely doable without them, and having them obviously does not change any of the mechanics in the fight. Additionally, they also don't change any of the phase timings for my party specifically, but your results might be different. Without further ado, let's get to it! Alright, let's get started. The very beginning, Blue Sea will always open up with the Paradise Lost, just like in the original game. Waiting for it, there we go. It's gonna look a bit chaotic, but if you get used to the pattern, it's always the same. Follow the lines, dodge things on the ground, and you're good to go. I'm using Invincible to dodge a lot of this for the sake of the video, but if you really wanted to, you just dodge or block, it works. After this, he'll spawn at the center of the map, short DPS phase, and he'll start with his bread and butter combos. 3 attacks, falling balls, expanding balls, and then red AoE slashes. There we go. I like fishing for invincibility to open up even more DPS windows, but it's not strictly necessary. From here, he'll do a bunch of lasers, do a bunch of small attacks, just that stuff. Exploding balls. Right now, you get link time. You really want to fish for link time. If you're doing this fight, you probably already know this, but link attacks will give you and your entire party full DPS windows. Always want to fish for them. You're gonna get 3 this fight. At least with the way I flowchart this fight. Speedrunners might find different things in the future. Alright, this will continue until around, I believe, 85%. And here we go. 7 trumpets, I think, is next. There we go. He overdrives, goes into his first major mechanic. Even though it's called 7, there are 12 labors in this phase. Failing a labor isn't really a game over, but it does introduce a permanent debuff, reducing the entire party's max HP by around 10% per failed labor. I haven't failed all of them, so I don't know if that's a party wipe, but I've seen people talk about 1 HP parties. The first phase, as you can see here, involved these color circles on the ground. Stepping on any color highlights that color, it makes the others traps. The party needs to proc all 4 of the same colored tiles to clear the labor. Doing this 4 times, once for each labor, clears the first 4 labors. Watch out for the pulsing rings coming in. I just like dodging through them, but you can jump them. Jumping's probably easier, I just like dodging. Alright, let's wait for these to full clear, and then we'll go on to the second labor. Or, second phase, 5th labor. Numbers are hard. And that's the first phase down. For the second phase, he will spawn 4 colored orbs in the center. They will damage you on entry, so be careful. Just like the first phase, if you hit you have to match the colors. Hit a color, and you have to hit the 4 corresponding orbs of the same color. Do this 4 times, clear the next 4 labors. If you do either of these phases too slow, like if you are too slow to hit any of the colors in the first 2 phases, it'll just reset and you just have to do that color again. Not recommended, you will probably fail a color or 2 when you do that. Alright, so after this, let's keep going. Looks like the AI does a pretty good job clearing things, but you have to be the one to initiate each of these phases. But the AI will help you clear, as you can see, the balls and the colored circles on the ground. So, third phase, this is the easiest one in my opinion. It spawns 3 weapons that will attack you, and similar to the Magliel fight, it's relatively straightforward. Just like Galanza, once you break a weapon, you can pick up the weapon and chuck it at the other weapons. Now, doing this will introduce a defense down on the other weapons, so for statics, I do recommend just focusing down 1 weapon at a time, but if you're at damage cap, it doesn't really matter. Any party attempting this fight to begin with should have no problems killing all 3 weapons this phase. Your damage might be on the low end if it's not happening, unfortunately. 4th and final phase, just right here, full Ogi, just full send it. It's Paradise Lost. The stun bar does not matter here, he's in overdrive. you need to do a full OG here, so that is why for AI parties, I hold my SBA. Hold your skills, do everything, full OG. Right after this, there'll be another short, regular phase, you know, for DPS windows and all that. There we go. Alright, now he spawns in the center for DPS phase. Ah! Can't forget the Paradise Lost. Cutscenes, baby! Paradise Lost! Oh, this was so epic the first time I watched this. Alright, once you get here, he spawns in the center, short DPS window. His attacks are very similar, but not identical, to the first DPS window. Let's get started. Sucking in power, ball drop, red slashes this time, purple AoE spikes on the ground, and then the expanding balls. In this phase, you're trying to fish for a link time into break. With enough damage, he'll go into his next phase at around 60%, but if not, you're just going to keep repeating this with his minor attacks, similar to the first round. His attack pattern kind of changes, but not too much. If you really lack DPS, he will start doing his mini versions of his trials. But if you're getting to that point, you're having a bad time. Alright, 60%, his attack pattern changes due to going into fusion. Alright, let's let the animation play out, and then let's go into how fusion works. Alright, Final Rebellion. This is one of the two main mechanics of this phase. For Final Rebellion, there'll be puddles on the ground, and there'll be 3 chasers, as you can tell. Two main things to dodge. The chasers on the ground with targeted lightning from above. Just dodge everything. After 3 sets of chasers, it alternates into the second phase, where lightning now chases you and the balls spawn pulsing orbs. The third part of Final Rebellion, as we're about to get to, is going to spawn a giant ball. This is not blockable. Dodge through it, jump over it is okay, but you cannot block it. Alright. For a pre-made, I recommend either stacking or going to separate corners to minimize the floor gump, as the chasers will get that for you, but you know, for an AI that's not a problem, so I just go and hide in my own corner. Alright. DPS window, I recommend holding the SBA here. And we're gonna go into the first Paradise Lost soon when he overdrives it. For these red attacks that you just saw, it's one of the minor attacks, but it is a donut. There is a safe spot in the center. You do not need to dodge there. It is a DPS window. For Paradise Lost, you'll notice that there is a stun bar. Every Paradise Lost after this has a valid stun bar, but I just like full bursting this one. It gives you enough, it gives you a bunch of damage, and it gives you another link time into break right after this. Link times are your biggest DPS windows at this fight. You will also have your full burst by the end of this next rotation to be able to have it for the final phase. Alright, let's keep going. Fish for the link time I was talking about. If you don't quite get to break here, which I will show in this clip, he will continue to do regular attacks and he will continue to loop Final Rebellion into Paradise Lost with minor small attacks in between for your DPS window. At that point, you really want to save your SBA because you will need it for the final phase. And you definitely need the burst damage for the final phase if you are looping multiple Paradise Lost and Final Rebellions. Running stun can also just break him out of the Paradise Lost, but not every character or composition can easily do that. If you really don't do enough damage, like I said before, he will start adding mini versions of his previous trials into his attack rotation. It's gonna be a bad time, but they're not too bad to deal with. It's just a waste of time. We are approaching 20% after this, which will trigger his next phase. Alright, at around 20%, he'll finish his attacks first. It's not a hard cast, but at around 20%, he'll trigger Go Forward Arc. Not much to say here. 2 phases to this attack, dodge everything. For the first set, you can block the lasers. I will show this as an example. Right here. You can block the lasers here. But for the second set, and I will also demonstrate this, these lasers are unblockable. You have to dodge them. They will one-shot you. Once this is over, he will go back to the center and he will continue alternating Paradise Lost and Final Rebellion until 10%, same as before. At this point, for solo and static teams, you want to have a good gauge of your burst potential. The moment you can kill him with a full burst, do it. If you have a full burst that can put him into break, into link time, into death, like, just burst. If you can burst them down to 0 the moment you can do it, do it. Otherwise, hold off your SBA until the final phase. My team can kill him here, but let's show the final phase, just for thoroughness. So we're gonna have to sit through this Paradise Lost because I really want to show you guys the final phase. Convince a lot OP. So easy. So free. Dodge into every attack. Alright, let's get him to break 13% to 10%, and then have him trigger the end. Final phase at 10% right here. He's gonna go into the end out of break. And this phase is very simple. Purple bar, which means that if you cap it, you lose. You know, while having to dodge everything else here, just DPS him down. You know, and this is why I said to hold the SBA for the final phase. But if you can kill him before this, like, usually I can kill around 15%, just do it and he'll never reach this phase. This is not a forced interaction if you can just kill him. Pretty easy. Lancelot's not even up, you know, he's just chilling on the ground while Lucy dies. So, you know, that's the fight. I hope this helps someone. Alright, even though it's not the main point of the video, I know a lot of people will be asking, so let's do a quick breakdown about my team setup. I'm just using Lancelot for the Invincilot build. I'm using Zeta, Wigan, and Rackham because that's my normal AFK team. Nothing too special about them, but let's get to it. For Lancelot, I'm using the Invincilat build with Flight Over Fight and Nimble Onslaught to get myself well over 6 seconds of invincibility for every perfect dodge. Every dodge through an attack is a perfect dodge. It's fantastic. Zeta, I'm running the Less is More build. So generally just stack Less is More, have no skills, and have her loop her hammer. Wigan, pretty standard, just toss whatever I had on him. I'm testing stun power here, as you can tell with my other builds, but it's not really working, so I'm just going to go back to damage. For Rackham, same exact thing. I couldn't even fit a stun power in here. Just plain old damage. I'm running the quick cooldown build, just so Rackham uses his nukes a lot more often through his skills, because the AI does not manage his mechanic. For skills, Rackham's using Slag Shot, Spitfire, Coffin Maker, and Bullet Hell. Wigan's using Intercept, Slum Rack, Paralyzing Bullet, and Venom Grenade. For this fight specifically, you probably don't want Paralyzing Bullet, because it doesn't work on Lucy, but yeah, I'm just kind of lazy and too lazy to change it out. Less is More Zeta, no skills, and Lancelot just runs a dash for gap closing, which I find helps with breaking the balls and stepping on mechanics, 2 damage skills, and his supplementary, which is way too strong. For masteries, not much to say. Here's over masteries. I fish for normal attack damage cap up here. For Zeta, same thing. You want normal attack damage cap up. For Wigan, normal attack damage cap up. For Rackham, you actually want skill damage cap up, but because I also use Rackham when I'm lazy, on just left clicking, I have normal attack damage cap up on him. Outro time! I hope this video helps someone. If you guys have any fights or mechanics that you would like to hear about, please let me know in the comments below. I absolutely love Granblue Fantasy. Otherwise, I plan to upload a mix of gaming content as well as just building silly things in general. If that interests you, maybe drop a sub, stick around, but most importantly, have a wonderful day.